everybody. Welcome to Google Cloud Next. We are super pumped to have all of you here today, and even more excited to tell you a little bit about what it's like to be a Googler, which I'll tell you, going back a few years, how many of you have seen the movie, The Internship, Owen Wilson? Yeah? That's totally what I pictured life at Google being like. And yes, there are some truths to that movie. But we're going to learn a little bit more about what it's like to work at Google, what the week in the life of a Googler is, what it's like to be a software developer and product manager at Google. And we've got some incredible panelists who will be sharing a little bit more about the in-depths of what it's like to be at Google. To kick things off, I'll introduce myself. My name is Kristen Copeland. I'm staffing lead here at Google, so part of our people operations organization. And we are unfortunately are missing one of our panelists. She couldn't make it today, but I will kick it over to our wonderful, very intelligent panelists to introduce themselves and tell you just a little bit about their name, what they currently do here at Google, and their role. So, Lakshmi, over to you.
Thank you. I'm Lakshmi Sherma. I'm Director of Product Management for Networking. So with my team of product managers and working with my engineering team, I try to kind of support the awesomeness of high performance, low latency network that a lot of our Google services, most of our Google services and cloud services are built upon.
Cool.
Hey everybody, I'm Hernandez. I'm an engineering manager in Google Cloud Division. My team specifically works on developer tools and container images. So if you do things with Kubernetes, you're probably using our stuff in some way. But don't complain, I'm the manager.
Hi, my name is Jimmy. I work for Google Cloud's Video Intelligence, well, AI, focused on video. So if you use any of our AI APIs, that's probably related to my team. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marisa Chow. I'm a software engineer on a team working on building video conferencing tools. Specifically at Google, although we partner very closely with our friends in Hangouts Meet, part of G Suite, to bring all the cool technology to you.
Awesome. Okay, so first things first, let's just kind of hit the baseline here. And I'd love to hear a little bit from each of you about what does the week in the life of a Googler look like, specifically in your role. So as an engineering manager, as a software developer, and as a product manager. So Tara, why don't you kick things off for us?
Meetings.
Yes.
Seriously. In fact, my team was really excited because I made them go to less meetings, and it was practically tears of relief. But with a company the size of Google and with the scope that we have, just even within the cloud space, trying to get coordinated, make sure that we're moving towards a common goal is very challenging. But it's also pretty exciting, too. I'm used to a small company. My last company had 224 employees. Google's has been a different experience for me, to say the least.
I can absolutely imagine and can relate. I'm sure many of you can as well. Jimmy, tell us a little bit about what a typical week looks like for you as a Googler.
For me, as a software engineer, because it's already in the career, mostly it's coding. So it's I'll say 80% coding. The rest is just meetings. But
we're really selling it here, aren't we?
But the meetings do help because that's how you design. We'd like to design as a team, which is pretty good to get that teamwork in meetings, get the design down. You come up with an idea, share with your teammates. Then after that, you get to implement, and everyone goes their way, and we kind of just work together. So mostly it's coding, but there's a lot of teamwork involved in that.
Yeah, go for it, Marisa.
Very similar to Jimmy, software development at Google is mostly coding. I like to tell people that most of my time is coding, and the rest of the time I'm sitting in meetings deciding what to code. So that is my week.
Awesome. And Lakshmi, I know your role's a little bit different, but are you in meetings all day too?
So I'll just give an example of how my first day here at Google was. So I joined January 8th last year. I was in Google training. I came to meet my team and my peers. So I came to the PM area, and then it was before 5 p.m., and then there was nobody out there. And then I was told already, hey, most of the PMs, they're always talking to customers, internal, external. They must be in some other building talking to some kind of customer or stakeholders. And I went in, and there was nobody. So yeah, meetings, but it's just that you're always talking to somebody who is, that's the kind of life of a product manager. You're talking to customers, and those customers are internal customers. or our engineering stakeholders, marketing people, sales people. So we are always talking to a lot of people, learning, and then trying to build kind of, products that our customers really, really can use.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about the relationships with customers, how you interact with them, and sort of just like how that partnership looks.
I've been at various big and small companies too. So one thing which I would say, one advantage of being at Google, and I would be honest, just a blessing, I would say, being Google and having this company done so much of amazing work in infrastructure. I work in infrastructure team. It's always that brand and the performance and the quality that we have. It is actually easy to go and talk to customers. They want to listen to you primarily because we are so much engineering focused. So the typical day is we work very closely with engineering team, like product management team. Here is a 2 in a box. Like we work with engineering, and we have we say outside in as well as inward focused innovation. So we talk to customers all the time. Like since morning, I've been talking to partners and customers. We learn from them, we build for them, and then we also have our continuous innovation coming from billions of users who have been using our services. So it's a continuous learning, continuous innovation, and we keep giving to each other throughout the world, to our customers as well as to our own services.
That's awesome. What about for the rest of you? I'd love to hear a little bit more about on your day-to-day. Talk to me about how you're working with open source, or how you're working with internal consumers, or projects that are maybe related but upstream. Go ahead, kick it off, Tara.
All right, I'll go. So I've done engineering infrastructure for 25-something years. I was involved in open source as far back as Mozilla. So it's something that's super important to me. And being able to work at a company like Google, where all the things that my team works on are all open source based, is pretty awesome.
Marisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is your favorite thing about being a developer at Google?
It's a bit of a cliche. There are a lot of things I really enjoy about being a developer. Right off the bat, my teammates that I have are just really incredible. I came to Google basically fresh out of college, and so I was moving from an environment where coding was very theoretical, right? The problems that we had were all theoretical in nature. Okay, so this is what it might look like to deal with concurrency problems, But then when you come to Google, you are suddenly thrown into this environment where you're not only forced to see how the theoretical principles play out in practice, but also you're challenged by so many different factors that you don't really think about when you're in the vacuum of university. So for example, our video conferencing fleet is all throughout the world, so we deal with a lot of problems around, for example, time zone issues, or problems of different hardware available in different countries. All of the problems of scale as well. For example, if 1% of our video conferencing fleet goes down, that's hundreds of rooms that can't be managed or can't be used at all by Googlers in a certain office or around the world. So thinking about how the theories of university days are put into practice, I guess, and tested in many different ways in the daily developer workflow has been it's been such a growing experience for me as a developer to see how that plays out, to think about scale from the beginning, to think about the user from the start.
That's amazing. And what about from the product management side, Lakshmi? Tell us a little bit more about what your favorite thing about being a PM at Google is.
So we say that PM at Google, product management at Google, is the CEO of their product. And in we truly believe in that sense. Like you are a CEO of a product and of that startup that you run. And then you run with your CTOs and other architects of the company, which are all your engineering leaders. So it's this definition, I've been a leader in many companies and various places. It is not practiced to that extent and to that scale and impact, and at least in places where I have been. So it's just awesome that you can just think of an idea, then you just meet an engineering leader, just sitting next to you, and then say, how about we work together on this? Then you go and find a customer, or you go and find your open source partners, And if it works out, but works out for, we always think like global scale, so nothing starts regionally for us. We always start that, will this problem be solved for everybody around the world? And then if it does, we just go and ask for more people. We put a business case together, and sometimes that idea does not exist. That product never existed. It's truly as simple as that. I've been here 15 months, and there are so many new things I've done in all kinds of aspects, partnerships, business dev, you name it. And then you just find the right people, and there are amazing sort of people. So it's just rocking awesome to be. I'm not just doing a sales pitch. I truly mean it. So it's really, really wonderful to be here.
Yeah, incredible opportunities to make an impact. I think one of my favorite stories, I was asking a Googler, kind of what's your Google moment? And he shares with me that he was, a new Googler, as we call it. And he's working on this business critical project, and it's essentially, when you do a Google search and the little cards show up to quickly give you your snapshot of your answer. He was working on that, and a few months after they launched, the team got a random email forwarded to them from a woman in India who noted that she was able to quickly do a quick search on some of her symptoms that she was having, quickly diagnosed herself, went in and advocated for herself to get the right care, and ended up saving both her life, and she was pregnant, and her baby's life. So I think it's just incredible, these crazy ways that we can, make just an impact with something that feels like it may not. Do any of you have sort of a Google moment or something that's really just helped you to feel connected to Google and just love the magic moments that we have here? I know, this one wasn't on the script. I'm throwing it at you a little bit.
Practice this one, Kristen. I have one. When I was a Noogler, you spend 3 days down in the main campus learning about Google and learning the tools and et cetera. But one of the things I did not know when I got to Google was this cool story out of the Arab Spring, where you have all of these activists trying to advocate and support democracy in their countries, and in many cases you have these very repressive governments trying to shut down the internet to prevent them from communicating with each other. And one of the things that came out is that people were spray painting Google's DNS server address, which is 8888, on walls of buildings so that they could keep their Twitter feeds going and various other social media. And having not known that, I was like, wow, okay, I work at a cool company. That was pretty awesome to me. And to consider I had said I'd never work at Google, because Google is that stupid company that makes you calculate how many golf balls are in a school bus or something as part of your interview process, which I can assert they no longer do. But that, to be able to be part of an organization that has had that much of a significant positive impact in the world in such a meaningful way, it's kind of hard to top that in my mind.
I love it.
Except I'm sure you're going to top that, right?
No, not quite, but that is quite hard. But when I realized this is I was working on a new project, right? It's a new API. We have an idea. We're implementing it, and everyone's excited about it, and we want to launch it. So I was talking to one of my senior engineers in the team, and I'm like, yeah, right now the servers are pretty good. They're pretty stable. I can guarantee you 99% of the time they're going to be up. And he's like, no, that's not enough. I'm like, what do you mean? 99% of the time is not enough. It's like, yeah, we need 99.999% of the time. It's like, yeah, that 1% can can affect a lot of users in 1 second. And then he went ahead and gave me this equation that calculated how many users we have, just our team, and how much 10 minutes of one server going down could affect the ultimate, that number just blew my mind. I was like, okay, yeah, this is big scale.
Absolutely. All right, so we talked a little bit about what some of your favorite things about being a developer or a product manager or working at Google are. Let's hear a little bit more about that real talk, peek under the tent. What are your least favorite things?
Can I say the good one first?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So I'm infrastructure, so I only talk infrastructure language. And if you had seen the keynote this morning, and So to me, one of the most powerful thing was like imagining putting a fiber under the ocean, and like instead of just, I've always been in companies which will do software innovation, hardware innovation, ASIC, NIC, all kinds of innovations. But it means, okay, so we have a very high latency between Australia and Singapore. So how do we fix it? We did all the wonderful things. Let's just put a fiber. And then we reduce the latency. Oh my God. The moments like that are, I think, just you have every single innovation out there, and then you do something like the company of a Google scale can offer to the world. I think those are my aha moments.
Top notch, absolutely. All right, back to the real talk.
All right, so one of my least favorite things actually relates to my favorite moment as well, which is kind of crazy. But in the same kind of example that I just told you guys, is it because Google is such a big company, sometimes it hinders the speed that you want to do things at. So let's say you're working on a project and you have everything done. If you're in a smaller company, you could get it out pretty fast and kind of iterate faster. But sometimes, because Google is still a very big company, everyone needs to be confident, and like the quality has to be the highest quality possible. So it does take a little bit longer time, which as a developer, you just want to get it there. I want people to be able to be helped by what I've just done. And it just really hurts, kind of have to wait like another quarter and just slowly go through the reviews and everything until it's ready to launch. So yeah, that's my kind of...
A lot of trade-offs. When you're worried about scale and high impact, you gotta also make sure that it's not adversely impacting folks, which means things can move a little slower. I get that. Okay. Marisa?
Yeah, I think related to Jimmy's point about the scale at which Google has grown. As Tara mentioned earlier, Google's not a very small company anymore. It is a very large company across, all over the world, and offices all over the world. And so my team does collaborate with teams that are located in the different time zones. And so part of the frustration with that is the company is so large that sometimes it can be very difficult to know like what other parts of the company are doing. So it's not at all unusual for me to first learn of sort of some Google products when they show up in TechCrunch. And it's just one of the facts of being a large company. But I think that's something that I've actually taken a bit to heart, because I work on a G Suite product, right? I work on meetings. I work on trying to make that collaboration, that connection better. I work on trying to make that more seamless, more frictionless. And so I think that kind of gripe with how large the company is something that fuels me as well.
I love it. Tara, anything you'd like to share, or should we move on? All right.
I don't want to get in trouble.
One of my favorite things, is it because it's meetings? You hate meetings the most? Okay.
No comment.
One of my favorite questions to ask folks is, when you're working at Google, there's so many other companies that you could choose from. What brought you to Google, and what's kept you here? Tara, take it away.
All right. I actually, like I said, I had never planned on working for Google, not just because of the interview questions, but just because I like small companies. The ability to have impact at a small company is just so much, to your point, is just so much easier. But I met some amazing women at meetups and cloud events, and one in particular, a woman named Melody McFessel, another one, Diane Green, Alyssa Green. There's just all of these amazing women, and I was like, wow, here's a company that has this sort of fulcrum of people that I could really learn from and have an opportunity to work with. And I thought, all right, well, okay, maybe I hate big companies, but this is too good an opportunity to pass up. Plus, they let me work in the San Francisco office, so
It's very nice.
that was an added benefit.
I like it. Jimmy.
So for me, if you don't know my background, I was born in Tanzania. So growing up in kind of third world country, it was quite a change of scenery for me to come to the United States. And through my time in college, I realized that I want to dedicate my life to solve like real problems that affect people. And I didn't really care about how many users you rack up for all these different companies we're talking about. But at Google, the really drew me to Google was the problem they're trying to solve. First, they try to affect the whole world, so not just the United States or the first world. They're trying to affect everywhere, and their problems are actually affecting people and enabling people to do more with their lives and enjoy their time more. So it's problems that I really cared about. So that's what drew me into Google. And what kept me at Google, to be honest, I think it's the food. The free food is gotta be up there. Like, that is one of my favorite things. Every time I think of living, I'm like, oh, but food. Oh, okay, never mind.
Right. We're very spoiled. I'm sure most of you have heard about the food, but I can say that it's one of those things. I think I saw something on like a meme the other day that was making fun of Googlers who were talking about like, I'd rather work in the San Francisco office because they have the oat milk instead of almond milk. And that's a little bit painting the picture of how spoiled we can be a little bit.
New York office has steak.
Ugh, okay, well, I'm moving to New York, clearly. Tara, tell me about a little bit more about what brought you, I'm going to move on to Lakshmi because you started that one for us. Clearly, I'm just crushing it right now, y'all. Lakshmi, tell me what brought you to Google and what's kept you here.
I think like almost everybody said that the impact, the scale of the impact that anybody can make, any single person can make. And I'm in networking infrastructure. So everything is connected and secured through some kind of networking, right? All the way from the device to on-prem device to a data center to cloud. And this is a company which has built it over years and securely and phenomenally well. And I think it was a perfect timing because we are not number one yet in cloud game. So I had huge scope to kind of, participate in and at the scale that I was looking at. There is no other place I could have thought about where I could have an impact, where there was so much to do at the scale that they had already done. So and what is keeping me here is just that even after 15 months, every day I feel like I'm a noodler. There is so much to do. So that's what is like my promise to myself that I will be able to make an impact and will be able to work with really smart brains. Every single day I meet somebody who I'm like, oh my God, oh, this person wrote the book. Oh my God, this person did this. So it's just every day those moments and then learning from them and being humble, that's keeping me here.
That's amazing. So speaking of the smart people that you come in contact with.
One more thing, the thing that keeps me at Google, we can bring dogs to the office.
You can what?
Bring dogs to the office.
The dogs, puppies in the office is literally one of my favorite things about Google. I can't even handle the cuteness some days. Two of my coworkers have like the cutest puppies I've ever seen. I'm so sorry to get on this tangent, but yes, dogs in the office is amazing. But you did touch on something that I want to dig a little deeper on, the point of working with people who are just so intelligent. I'll give you my quick experience. So I was leading a meeting, and one of those meetings where like I kind of felt like, yeah, I got this, I'm gonna nail this. I went into the meeting all strong and confident, felt like I rocked the meeting, and then afterwards someone was like, did you know that guy in the meeting with you, he like was a badass at Atari. Like he was one of those people that like made huge impact, was like built all these incredible games, and like you just like, made sure that he knew exactly what he needed to do, and he's super senior. And then all of a sudden, the next time I'm meeting with him, I'm sitting there like, oh, this guy's so smart. I'm gonna look like an idiot in front of him. So it gave me a little bit of imposter syndrome of what it's like to work with these crazy intelligent, amazing people. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about if you experience imposter syndrome at Google, or how you deal with it.
I think this is one of the reasons that I did not. Google had been my customer, partner. I've worked with, and many times, and vendor. But I never wanted to work with Google. One of the reasons was that, hey, from outside it looks like when there are so many smart people who have achieved so many things in life, the impression that you feel like if I am there, one, I'll be lost. Like, whether I'll be able to make an impact. And second is that, would I get the kind of respect that I get at other places? Experience internally is like, just like you said. So I'll give a very quick example. So I grew up in India. I did my master's in computer science from India. And there's a very common book that a lot of Indians read all the time, like in master's, which is around computer architecture. So the person, one of the authors of that book, I have been working with this person ever since I joined last year. Just recently, another person who joined my team, again, this person is Indian, says, oh, Lakshmi, isn't he Weatherall? Like I said, yeah. So he said, isn't he the Weatherall who wrote the book? I'm like, what book? So then I actually look at him. I said, David, did you write that book? He says, yeah. And I'm just going like, oh my God. It's been 13 months, so I'm working with this person every day. And I read his book, and almost every person, at least 18 years back in India, used to read that book. So that's the kind of humbleness. And I can give names and names, like person who wrote TCP, Vince, like amazing person. I got to meet that person with no air. Everybody here is just here to solve problems for people. And that's a common thing that keeps us all connected. And that's all we do. I just get goosebumps, and because I am the engineer at heart, I'm a product manager, but meeting those people who are so humble, and then it's just, yeah, it
That's
just works
amazing.
out.
I love it. Go ahead, Tara.
So I've actually given talks on imposter syndrome, and I suffer from it every day. And the thing that I love about Google is that so does everybody else. It's something that gets talked about a lot. And you think about, I'm sure everybody's heard of the Google 20% projects. And that's pretty widely known. Like there was somebody who had a 20% project and invented Gmail, right? And it just passed 15 years and has like 90 bazillion users. And you think, oh my God, I'm working at a company where someone just thought of that as a side project. That's very intimidating. But at the same time, to Lakshmi's point, there's a lot of motivation around. We all have the capability and opportunity to really do something meaningful for us and for the company, and more to Jimmy's point, to the world at large. It's not often that you get to work at a company that could have global impact, and so there's a sense of responsibility that I think a lot of us carry. That, maybe it's not the official motto, but every employee is, do good, don't be evil, don't take it for granted. All of those things that, for us as Googlers. In the trenches working along, it's like we think about it all the time.
Yep, I love it.
So intent in some ways, and sense of sort of technical ethics and other types of things are things that are just as important as what type of crazy technical innovation is going to make us a lot of money, right? That's not really what we care about as much. At least with all of the people that I have met, that's not the case.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear a little bit more about skills that you've developed at Google, because I know I personally have seen some of these different courses we have available to us and have benefited from them. I recently took a finance course, which is amazing because, let's be real, I know nothing about how to invest. So I'd love to hear, what's a skill that you've developed here at Google, whether or not it's related to your core job or something that you've learned via courses that we offer?
Sure. So I'll list two, one technical skill and then one non-technical skill. Technical skill is, so my team works on video conferencing, as I mentioned, and a large part of that is reliability. So making sure that our rooms are reliably working at any given point in time. So a huge part of my job is looking at rooms that are broken, trying to diagnose why something is, why a room is suddenly went offline. And there are just so many dimensions to that problem. Is it a problem in the software? Is it a problem in the hardware? Is it a problem in the building? Is it, there are layers and layers of where the problem could happen. So a lot of, so I would say one skill that I've developed is learning to look at, a symptom and try to think about, what are the causes that could affect that, that could make that happen? Where along the chain could something go wrong? The non-technical skill is really fun. I took an ASL class at the office. They offer ASL classes, and it was something I'd always wanted to learn and didn't really have a chance to learn. So when they offered a class, I just jumped at it, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
That's great. Anyone else?
So the skill that I learned, actually, it's weird because I thought I was the master of C++. I was like, there's nothing I can learn more about C++. Right, that's what I learned. So at Google, we have this thing where if you join the company, you can go through readability reviews, and you have people who are very knowledgeable in the language review your code and give you pointers as to what you do. And my first readability approval review, that was the most exciting moment I ever had, because I learned so much in that one review than, let's say, a year in college, because gave me pointers and reasons and why this is, like, you give the whole rationale. Do it like this because of A, B, C, and you think about it, you're like, yes, why not think of that before? And you go back, and it's, every time I have those reviews, it's just amazing. And these people work in the company, and you can just, like, ping them and be like, do you want to have lunch? And they'll be like, yeah, let's get lunch. We have steak over here. So you go and talk to them, and you learn I am a C++ nerd, so I enjoy having lunch with these people. And the more I learn, the more happy I am. So I don't think I'm ever going to be a master of C++. That's what I learned as well. So that's, be humble, right?
I love it. I love it. So in our last minute or so, we'll end on a fun note. I'd love for each of you, one of you mentioned the great food at Google. I'd love to hear from each of you what the best thing you've eaten at Google is. The best food you've eaten at Google. Yeah. All right, so mine is
It's got to be Japan office. In Tokyo, they had, I don't know what the name of the food is, but it's different from here because it's instead of just one meal, it's little meals everywhere, and you just pick and choose and eat. And I remember eating, the first time I was there, I ate so much that I got sick, but it was so good. It was so different.
Like a Japanese version of tapas? Oh, okay, yeah, I can get on board with that. Lakshmi, what about you?
So I'm vegetarian, no egg, no meat, no seafood. So one thing which I really love is that the food here is super healthy, and I do like healthy food. So you have all kinds of options, but out of all the offices I've traveled, Google, like Singapore office, they have like a 7-star buffet, and the view is so super awesome. So that's my favorite place for vegetarian food.
Awesome.
So good.
All right, Tara, what about you?
Chocolate chip cookies at the San Francisco office.
Yes, those are amazing.
They have sea salt and. Oh.
Oh, I feel like my answer to this changes every week. But yes, I just, so in the New York office, they have this one cafe where they will plate everything very nicely on like a huge plate. So you see this beautiful white plate, and it'll have like a perfect, like, I don't know, I'm blanking, but just like, for example, like some sort of really fancy pasta with like a pumpkin sauce on it with a beautiful sprig of like green something. Gold leaves or something. No, it's just so beautiful. And, you know, as a millennial, I have to say it's very Instagrammable. It's very aesthetic, so it's beautiful.
If it's IG worthy,
They also have hidden bars.
Yes.
And peanut butter sandwiches. They just started it recently in Sunnyvale office. I love them.
You know, a simple staple. Who doesn't love that? Fantastic. All right, well, that wraps up our panel today. So let's give it up for these amazing panelists. Yes. Thank you all so much. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about what it's like in the life of a Googler.